Woo!
I think. What's that? Where have all the people gone? But they're at the front there. That's coming out. So welcome along everybody to SL16B. My name is Kes Crystal and I'm doing a couple of Meet the Designer sessions. So this is the first one that I'm doing this time around. It's will take about an hour. There will be an opportunity for some questions, and then there will be a sim restart before the Meet the Lindens session, which is strawberry, I nearly said strawberry six, strawberry linden and Ziola linden. If you've turned up early for that, then Jake is Ziola and I'm strawberry, and we're sticking to that. So Jake is actually a good friend of mine, as well as being a designer that I've worked with for a number of years now. So I'm going to try and do this interview and pretend as if I don't know, not as if I don't know anything about him, but remember that you guys may not know, some of you may not know who he is. So my first question for you, Jake, is for the benefit of the people in the audience that maybe don't know you quite as well as I do, can you start by introducing yourself and what you do in Second Life?
Sure. Okay, so I'm Jake Vordun, and I do a few different things. First and foremost, I have a store called Fancy Decor, and I make furniture and decor and stuff like that. And that started in 2014. I also have a museum. It's called the Vordun Museum and Gallery, and that started in 2016. And there's some big news with that I'm sure we'll get to later. And I also co-own some events. I co-own Prism Events, which is Tannenbaum, Salem, and Bloom. They're kind of like seasonal events. And most recently, I've become co-owner of the arcade. So that's my list of duties.
It's quite a resume. So how did you first find Second Life? Have you been here for the whole 16 years, or?
No, I think I've only been here for nine something years. Oh gosh, I don't even remember how I found it. I want to say it was an ad. It must have been an ad that I saw on a website or something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how I found it.
What was it about the ad? I'm sure the marketing people for Linden Labs would love to know what it was about the ad that might have got you to join. You know, what was it that made you say, I want to have a go at that?
Well, I was into video games a lot at the time. I was younger, and I think I liked the idea of just this open world, and I think the ad was heavy on customizing avatars and kind of creating your own adventure, and that really appealed to me.
I think certainly the content creation side of things is something that's brought a lot of people here. I wish I could say that my reason for joining Second Life was anything to do with creation at all, but mine was Duran Duran. I saw an article back in the heyday 2006 about Duran Duran in Second Life and how they bought Sims here and had places that you could go to that were Duran Duran related.
How funny. It's funny you say that, because my partner Emery, he found Second Life through Gossip Girl. They apparently had like a deal, not a deal, but like an advertising thing with Gossip Girl, where they would advertise it either before or after the show, I think, and you could get Gossip Girl avatar names.
Right. Oh, wow. Do you know what? I think you're right. I think there is a surname Gossip. Is there a surname Gossip Girl?
I think so. He doesn't have that, but that is how he found Second Life.
Well, up until about a year ago at least, the Duran Duran Sims are still there.
Oh, wow.
and I believe they're still owned by Duran Duran, or they've run by a fan group or something.
That's crazy.
But they are still there. You can find them in search. Don't find them in search yet.
Don't go anywhere.
You don't go anywhere yet. So when was it that you actually started creating in Second Life? And tell us more about how that grew into Fancy Decor as it is now.
Creating kind of had phases for me. So when I was really new in Second Life, I was into 18th century roleplay. At the time, there was this beautiful, I mean, it was all prims, but this beautiful Versailles sim. And they had roleplay there, and I wanted to create a store, and it was an art store, and I would find public domain art pieces and Photoshop like pretty picture frames onto them and put it on a prim and sell it. And so, I mean, it was the most simple of creating, really, but that's where I really first started. And then I think I took a break from that and came back, and creating was not on my radar at all. And I kind of dipped my toes back into it when I started a tank top store. I know that sounds funny, but all I sold.
I don't know about this. I am so interested.
It was called.
I want to know about your tank tops.
It was called Tanks a Lot.
Oh my
And
god!
they were templates, because obviously I did not know how to make clothing or rig or anything like that. And they were sold out of the back of the trunk of a car on a community sim. And that's how I got back into creating, and the templates just kind of weren't enough for me, and I decided I wanted to learn how to mesh. And that's how
I was going to say, were these mesh tank tops, or are you going back to system layer tank tops?
They were mesh, but they were templates, and I never made any clothing. After the tank top ordeal, once I learned how to mesh, it was strictly furniture and decor. So that's when Fancy Decor was started in 2004.
Did you have a group for tanks a lot?
I don't think I did, actually. I still have some of the tank tops.
And you didn't wear one today?
No, I did not. I don't know if they fit with these mesh bodies. Mesh bodies were not even close to being thought of.
So that was I got really hooked up then on tanks a lot, and you saying that, yeah. So I mean, going from that to starting a decor store, I mean, how do you even go about starting to learn to mesh?
I had a friend who taught me the basics of the mesh program I use, and from there it was really just kind of figuring out everything else. They kind of taught me how to make a box and bevel it, and it was a really super basic shelf. I still have that shelf too, the very first thing I ever made. And from there, it was just really a lot of YouTube videos and tutorials and just kind of figuring out how to do things on my own. So it was really kind of after I learned the basics from my friend, it was kind of a self-taught journey from there.
So how long was that journey? How long did it take from saying, I want to start meshing, to releasing the first item that you were happy to sell?
I would say probably days. I know that sounds crazy, but I really dove in, and after I made that first item, I immediately wanted to make something else. And I made, I can't remember, it was either this little patio set I made or this frame I made. I can't remember which one was the very first. I'm sure I could go and check, but I made it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to start a marketplace. And I put it on Marketplace, and that was the first item. And from there, I literally just never stopped. I have not stopped since. So that helps a lot when you're, as far as the journey of learning how to mesh, it's still going on today. I still learn new things and new techniques and new programs and things to help improve. So I'm always learning. And
I hear that from pretty much all designers, that they're always learning. And you see people post things on Facebook, and they're like, I didn't know that you could do this, and they share tips and information that helps each other, do things quicker or in a easier workflow and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So let's see, when I first found you, was at an event called Cosmopolitan, and I bought a rustic dining table and chairs.
Yes.
So, well, how early on in your days did you make that?
That's pretty early. That's some of my first, within the first 10 releases for sure. Cosmo was probably my second event, and it really was the event that really got me out there, I will say that, as far as like a brand new designer, because I had gone from being, nobody, like only my friends really knew about me and the few people I had on Facebook where I was posting this stuff. Cosmo kind of was my first event, I guess you could say. So I did do a little tiny event before that, but the event closed, and yeah, I would say Cosmo was probably my first event. So yeah, that was really, really in the beginning, that table.
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
Yeah, I bought that set, and then I did what I quite often do when I go to an event and see a designer that I've never seen before. I go to their main store, and you have this really dear, tiny little main store with a few items in there, and then like a little gacha room back. And I remember you had you'd done a gacha set at that point, because you had the the dream catchers.
Oh yes, yeah.
Which I think was probably one of your first gachas.
Yes, I think I had 2 gotchas at that point. The Dreamcatcher being one of them. And that store, oh my gosh, that store, I was renting, I think, on just some random sim, renting a parcel, and it was a skybox, and it was just like a little studio apartment skybox that I turned into a store. And I was trying my hardest to make it look full, but I didn't have very many items. So it was really important that I had a small skybox to start with. To give the illusion of, a stock store. And I would get so excited when a customer would come, because it didn't see very much traffic in the beginning. So
I came over with 2 people, so you must have been ecstatic.
I was probably like IMing all my friends, like, oh my gosh, 3 people.
I think we did buy stuff as well, so there we go. I must have been one of your first customers.
Thank you for the early support.
So talking of gachas, you've recently become a co-owner of one of Second Life's premier sales events, the Arcade. Now I know that you've been a participant in the Arcade for a long time, but being on the other side must be a huge difference. How has that been for you, and what do you find are the challenges of running an event in Second Life?
Well, my partner, Emery, has always been an owner of the Arcade. So I always kind of had a peek behind the curtain, you could say, of the event and how it's run. But becoming an owner, and one half owner, just the 2 of us now, it's totally different. That event it's crazy how much work has to go into making the Arcade happen. It's huge, and there's, the task lists are endless, and it's unlike really any other event that I've been a part of, like the Prism events, and it's just amazing to see it all come together, though. And we have a staff that, oh my gosh, they're so dedicated, and they want to see it succeed just as much as we do. So we are so grateful to them. But it's been really fun being an owner. I feel like a sense of pride for it, and it feels like my new baby now, so I really am happy to be a part of it. What was the other part of the question? Sorry.
So it was what are the challenges of running an event, and that can be Arcade or you involved with that. We didn't really sort of introduce the Prism side of things for the audience. Prism Events is an event company that runs I think 3 events I get
Yes.
this right, which is Salem, Bloom, and which one am I forgetting? Tannenbaum, of
Yeah.
course. Tannenbaum. So the Christmas market event. So really, what you find are the challenges on that side of things?
As an event organizer, I would say the main challenge for me, in my opinion, getting everyone coordinated on a schedule. So making sure all the designers, come through and set up and we have a full event without, with as few empty booths as possible and really just good content for shoppers. And also, making sure everything's perfect for the designers too. We want them to do really well. So, but yeah, I would say the biggest challenge for me as an event runner would be, making sure that all the designers come through and set up on time before the event opens.
What do you enjoy most about it?
Um, with Prism events, I had more of a hand in how things looked at the event. So I did most of the landscaping at the events, and I really love doing that. So every time it's time for a Prism event, I always look forward to setting up the sim and getting all the trees back out, all the booths, and all that kind of stuff. I really like that. Although Emery's in charge of placing the booths because he is very meticulous. That's his specialty. Everything's measured perfectly in a circle and evenly spaced in all the right angles. And then I come in and I put in the trees and all the pretty stuff. So
That
yeah,
must be quite difficult,
favorite.
actually, doing a round, because it's always sort of semi, like oval, isn't it? So
Oh yeah, it requires a lot of math, and a lot of getting like the degree of an angle.
yeah, that would be no good for me.
Emery loves that kind of stuff, so I let him do it.
Yeah, Emery, if I ever have a project that involves that, I'll give you a shout too then, because not my forte. So I was trying to think when you and I first actually met then, because obviously I knew of you through the store.
I think one of my first memories of you had done, I think you were doing spotlights on your blog for, I think, new stores. And we had
Yes.
probably met before, like, in passing, but I remember you did like this beautiful picture of my store. This is when I had moved to a sim, like on the ground. You did like this
Yes.
beautiful picture and you did a spotlight on my store, and I was just like, oh my gosh, someone like liked my store enough to showcase it. And I think that's what kind of
That was
started
the
it.
main store Monday, which it was actually, I did that in the first year that I was blogging, and it 4 years that I've been blogging here. And I've brought that back, main store Monday, so I do that as a feature on the blog again. So as your store's changed a lot, I will be back to do it again at some point.
Yay! Full circle.
Yeah, and then we did some work. When I worked for a company, you produced some items for games like that, didn't you? So I know you more during that, and then of course I started blogging for you.
Yep.
So, so I'm going to guess now. It's been a couple of years now. The Vordon's been there.
Yeah, we're coming up on its third birthday.
Wow.
Month.
Okay.
So the 16th of next month is its third birthday, which kind of lines up with another big thing that's happening there soon. So.
Okay. Well, so the Vordun is a museum and gallery in Second Life. So tell us more about the Vordun and how it came into being.
The Vordon is like, it is something that I am so passionate about. It's something that when someone says the word passion project, it is the definition. It's basically just a museum here in Second Life, but my goal was to make it as close to visiting a real museum as possible. You're not going to see signs that say click here or things that I call SL-isms. It's supposed to feel very real and, I don't know, like no group joiners that say join group or floating text or anything like that. Not that any of that stuff is bad, but you wouldn't see it in a real museum. So my goal was to really give people that experience and show people art and history and make it accessible to everyone, because there are a lot of people who have come to me and said, thank you for making this. I don't have a museum anywhere near me, or I can't get to a museum. I've actually had people tell me that they're too intimidated to go to a museum in real life. They don't think they know enough about art and they would feel out of place. So this was like a good buffer for them. So there's all kinds of reasons for people to visit a virtual museum. And I just really wanted to have the best one out there that felt as real as possible.
I might have to stop looking at your group's chat because it's making me giggle.
Oh, I haven't looked.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the exhibits that you've had, two or three of the exhibits and what they entailed.
Okay, so the museum...
You've had in the past, because we'll talk
Right.
about the future ones.
So when the museum first opened, we started with three exhibits, and the first is like the main, what I would call in a normal museum, the permanent collection. So this would be like the artwork that a museum has purchased, and it's always on show. You can always go there. You know you're going to see it. And that was called European Masters, and so it's master paintings from Europe, ranging I think between 300 years, and that gallery was probably, in the beginning, the most ambitious one for me, because I wanted to include a lot of technology in it. I wanted it to have an audio HUD, an audio guide, that when you put it on and you see a painting and it has a number on its placard, you click that number and not only does it zoom your camera onto the painting up close, but there's also voiceover audio. I had hired a voiceover artist from England because I wanted that amazing accent you guys have, and had him do about 32 voiceovers for different paintings. And I had Heidi help me, she's in the audience, with scripting because she is a scripting master. And so it utilized experiences to auto-attach the HUD and to auto-zoom your camera. So at the time, experiences, they weren't super new, but I don't think they were being used a lot. And so it was pretty neat to see that used in a setting like that.
I recall that was probably I take a little bit of pride in that being my sort of contribution when you first started talking about the Vordun, was saying to you, we're using these new experience things. And
that's right, I forgot that conversation. I need to credit you. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. You showed me some things that use experiences, and I was kind of blown away by it. So yeah, you put that seed in my head. So
yeah. So well, I knew that you wanted something really immersive, and experiences really do help with that. I'm stunned really that we're 3 or 4 years on from experiences launching, but more people don't use them still.
Yeah.
Second lives.
Yeah, and so one of the other exhibits was actually created completely by my partner Emery Milneau. He has been a Titanic history buff for most of his life, and he wanted to do a Titanic history exhibit. And since all of the photos and stuff that exist of the Titanic and the identical sister ship are in public domain, it was really easy to put, I shouldn't say easy, I should say it's more of a no-brainer to put together an exhibit that features photos and mesh recreations, replicas of rooms and artifacts and all kinds of stuff. So he created this amazing, huge exhibit that kind of told the story from start to finish of the Titanic, from it being built to, the tragic end. And it included storyteller bots that were dressed in costume, and when you walked up to them, they were a character. I shouldn't say character because they were real people. It would be a person from the ship, and they would tell their part of the story when you walked up to them. And it was just amazing. That was by far the most popular exhibit at the museum opening. I can't tell you how many IMs I got, and I had to tell them, thank you, but don't thank me. Thank Emery. It was him. Because the IMs were just pouring in. And he actually was able, not too long ago, to get an LEA for that. And he did this whole new build, added rooms to it, and it was just, wow, amazing. So he's really expanded that, and I do think it will be coming back. So we can talk more about that when we talk about the changes coming. But
yeah, that'd be great. So I mean, if you, yeah, that I have to say was one of my favourite exhibits.
Oh yeah.
The staircase, the room, the replicas of the rooms, it was just amazing. Emery did an absolutely fantastic job of that exhibit.
Yeah, it's really, it just shows his passion for the Titanic and its story and history. And it's done in a really respectful way, so I'm excited to see it come back. And then you went to 3 exhibits. So the third one that opened, it was called Lip Service, and a friend of mine, Celeste Forzy, or Jem, as she's known in Second Life, she's an artist, and she did a series of watercolor paintings of just lips, and lips in different colors, doing different expressions. It was a really fun, colorful, pops of color here and there exhibit, and I liked the fact that it showcased some real life art from a resident in Second Life. We don't get a lot of that at the Vordun, and if any of you are artists, feel free to get in touch with me, and we can talk about possibly doing maybe an exhibit of your work, because I would love to get more real life art from residents in the museum. So
that would be fabulous to do. I was just looking, because I actually bought some of Jim's pieces from the gift shop, which I love the gift shop.
Everyone loves the gift shop. I'll be in a gallery and they'll say, "Is this for sale?" And I'm like, "In the gift shop."
I was going to make a little joke, really, about how... So basically, you've gone full circle. You started creating by putting paintings on a prim, and here you are now, 9 years later, putting paintings on a prim.
Yes, yes. Trust me, that has crossed my mind many times. Like, the museum is like my old prim store. I'm back to selling pictures and frames.
Oh, trust me, if you open Tanks a Lot again, I'm there.
Maybe this time I'll have some custom mesh or something if I do that. And maybe it'll fit mesh bodies.
I think a lot of us did that. I had a store pre-meshed system layer one that was templates. And I also had a mesh template store and an alt as well. So, but that was many years ago. So you're moving the Vordun. I think you've announced that much, that you're moving the Vordun to its very own sim. Because at the moment it's been on the same sim as your store, Fancy Decor. Yeah?
Right. Yes.
Yes, tell me more.
Okay, so the museum is undergoing huge changes. It's going on its own sim, and the reason why it's going to be on its own sim is because of how huge it is. It would not fit on the same sim as my store. About a year ago, it's crazy that it's been a year, and it's just kind of, been in the sidelines. I had a build commissioned for the museum, an all-new one. It's more than double the size of the old one. The lobby is huge, and some of the new things coming are a cafe, which is actually going to be Common Grounds Cafe, which is a cafe that Emery has had for a long time. So this is going to be like Common Grounds at the Vordun kind of thing. Huge lobby, and it's going to be 2 stories, which is a huge difference from the old one, which was just 1 level. Complete with elevator and bathrooms and offices and archives and a much bigger gift shop, a coat check. You name it, it's got it. And in addition to that, there's going to be 4 new exhibits in addition to the old exhibits that are already at the Vordun. And I will go ahead and announce the new exhibits here as a special sneak for you guys. There's going to be an exhibit called Etched, and it's going to be the etchings of Rembrandt because most people know him as a painter. So it'll be, I think, refreshing for people to see him with his other art form. Um, an exhibit called Threads of Gold, and it's going to be an exhibit about tapestries. So it's going to be giant tapestries and even tapestry work that was used for upholstering furniture and how it was made.
And that's awesome, because I know for Fancy Decor you've actually made some tapestries for the store in the past, and they have always been so rich and beautiful and just gorgeous. So
tapestries have that beautiful quality. You know, they actually used silver and gold thread in them, so they're just so rich and beautiful. And this exhibit really kind of will give you the story of them and how they're made, and you know, the value they had back then. The third exhibit it's called Musica Antigua, and it's the most immersive of the 4 new exhibits. It's a music and art exhibit. So you're going to see paintings of instruments or people with instruments making music, and then a mesh recreation of that instrument. And the HUD will actually let you listen to music of the instrument. And it's all, as the title says, like period instruments from medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque. So it's you're not going to see, like, you know, keyboards or pianos or anything like that. So it's all going to be pre 19th century is what I would say. And the HUD, like I said, includes audio, and it's actually going to include video. There's also going to be a little cinema room where you can go and sit and watch some clips. So that's probably the most immersive exhibit of the 4 new ones. And the last one, which I think will probably be the crowd pleaser, is huge. It's the biggest of the 4 new exhibits, and maybe the biggest exhibit I've personally done. It's called Impressions, and it's all Monet. So it's a Monet exhibit, and it spans his life. There's a timeline of his life. There's recreations of his personal belongings and pictures of him and his history, his biography. So you'll learn a lot about him and his life. And yeah, that's the big one. So those are the new exhibits coming, though.
And I was lucky enough to have a little bit of a sneak peek at a couple of the areas last week. The Monet exhibit is going to be amazing. I mean, they will all be amazing, but you know, Monet is extremely popular, and I think you're right. That's the one that although I'm really quite interested in the music and art one as well.
I think it's gonna be a toss-up. I think people are gonna like the interactive aspect of the music one, and I think people are gonna like the beauty of the Monet. I think everyone has a place in their heart for Monet. I don't know if I've ever met anyone who said they don't like Monet. If you don't like him, don't tell me. But
yeah, and he doesn't need to hear from anyone now.
But yeah, I think people are really gonna enjoy looking at the paintings in the Monet, and I think in the music exhibit, people are gonna enjoy listening to the music and seeing the instrument in 3D, and then seeing it painted in 2D at the time. So you would actually see what it would have looked like then. A snapshot in history, really.
So, did I don't know whether I kind of misunderstood or whatever. So, where is Titanic going to be?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yes.
So Titanic will be, it's called A Night to Remember is the name of the exhibit, and it will be coming back to the Vordun. It will not be at the opening, which, by the way, is July 14th. That's a Sunday at noon, and I would love to see you all there at the opening. It'll be fun. But it will come later to the Vordun, and it will be permanent, so it won't be leaving.
Excellent.
Once it makes its way back, so.
Because I mean, that's an outstanding exhibit, and it would be great that it will have a permanent home, because people will always be interested in it.
Yeah, And I do believe that there will be plans to have maybe some new content in it too, or change it up a little bit for the people who saw it, because I know thousands of people came and saw it when it was on the LEA. So it'll be familiar to a lot.
So what, I mean, I know we've talked about the experience elements that you use in it, and you talked about the new areas, you know, code check-in and that kind of stuff. But are there any new ways that you're using the technologies from SL in the new Vordun that you weren't using? Are you using them in a different way in the older one?
Actually, yes. I've been working with Heidi, and we have a donation script system put in place now. When someone donates a certain amount of linden to a donation kiosk, their name will go on one of two donor boards. They're like these glass boards that are in the lobby that show our gratitude to people who have donated. So if you donate within the bracket on that board, your name will automatically go up there. And I think that's a pretty cool little feature that's new to the Vordon. I would say the only other new I call it technology at the Vordon, aside from the elevator, which isn't new technology in general, but it's new for the Vordon, would be the HUD in the Music Exhibit, which does feature video. I've never done that before. This is my first time, you know, getting that to work and making sure it works for everybody, because I do find that getting media to play for everybody in Second Life can be a bit of a challenge. So it took a lot of testing. Thank you, Jack Hanby, for testing, and thank you, Cass, for coming and testing it. Both of you helped me test it. And Heidi. Heidi tested it today. So
was it Sunday morning? I think it was, and it was either Saturday morning or Sunday morning that you asked me to go over, and it was like, click that and tell me what you see. And it was like, I clicked it and nothing. And you would just tell how disappointed you were, even in text. It was like,
I think I was just about to go to bed, and I was like, I just want this to work, and it wasn't. I've since done a lot of testing of all kinds of different things to make sure that this video works for everybody, and I think I found a way to do it. So hopefully everyone will get to experience, you know, seeing and hearing some of these instruments being played.
So what's in store for the opening night then? Have you got anything special planned?
No.
Sorry, that wasn't on your question list. I just came up with that. Put you on the spot.
Let's improvise. I'll put out refreshments. I know that's not exciting, but I will put those out. I don't know. Maybe I'll maybe look into having something special. Maybe a performer or something. That could be fun. But as of right now, there's nothing special other than, you know, getting to chat with me and ask questions while I'm there, because I'm always willing to answer questions whether I'm there or not. You can always send me an IM or a note card if you have questions about the museum or really anything, my store, any of the events. But it's always so fun to be there at the opening and feel that excitement of everyone seeing it for the first time. It's really one of my favorite things, even at the old Vordon. Anytime a new exhibit would open, it's always fun to chat with everyone and hear what their favorite part is, or what their favorite painting was, what they think's interesting. I always love to hear that from everybody. So it's kind of more of a community thing, a social thing for the opening that I think makes going to the opening. I don't think you should go too over the top, because the star is, you know, the gallery, the museum. So let her speak for herself, sort of thing. I think the social aspect is the special part of coming to an opening versus coming a few days later. I mean, coming a few days later is just fine too. You beat the lag, but you don't get that sense of connection with everyone who's seeing the same thing you're seeing, and maybe feeling something different or feeling the same thing when you look at something. So I think it's cool.
So you said the opening's on the 14th of July.
Yes, at noon.
Yeah. And how could people keep in touch with what's going on, or, you know, because most of us are going to sleep at some point between now and the 14th. So how will people be able to remember when this is, or get information about the opening?
So there's all kinds of places where you can stay connected to the Vordun. We have a website. It's called the VordonSL.com. You can also join the Enrolled group, which I think is just the Vordon Museum and Gallery. That's probably the best place because I do send notices in there. We also have a Facebook and Flickr. All of those places are great places to stay updated. Of course, notices, if you're in the group, you'll get a notice, an hour before, 5 minutes before, so you really won't miss it if you're in the group. So that's what I recommend.
And will there be a dress code?
Keep it, no nudity. I would say no nudity. Let's try and not wear bikinis to the museum. Otherwise, come casual. Come how you like to dress. Just remember it is a family.
I like a reason to dress up.
It is a family place, so we try to keep it as family as possible, but you don't have to dress fancy. I don't want it to be
I'm always turning up at gallery openings naked, so but for you, I'll put clothes on.
It has happened. Not for me. Not yet, at least. But yeah, I don't want anything to prohibit people from coming, whether they feel uncomfortable having to dress up or whatever. So just come as you are, as long as you're not, dressed in an adult way. You're fine. So it doesn't really matter.
So I've got an idea for a couple more questions, but I just wanted to ask if there were any questions from the audience that you wanted to ask Jake about any of the subjects that we've talked about. So whether it's about fancy decor or prism events or arcade or the Vordun. If you type your question in local, I'll try to keep track of them if there's a few. So, obviously you've been deep in planning for this. What do you think the future holds once the museum is open? What's sort of next on your radar?
Always on my radar for the museum is what exhibit can come next. What can I do that people want to see that's different, and how can I make it interesting? So that's really what I'm always looking for in the future for the museum. I don't see the build expanding too much. The way it's built, it's very modular. And by the way, it was built by Bad Unicorn, the creator of Bad Unicorn. I want to give him credit for that. And but it was built modular, so I really can add as many galleries and connect galleries to other galleries, and add as much as I want to it. So it can expand as much as I want. But one of the challenges I would say of coming up with a great exhibit is finding things that are interesting, that people might not know about, but also is within that scope of the public domain, just because it's really, really difficult to get licensing for modern art. I've tried. Emery has tried. It's a hassle, it's expensive. So we really are kind of limited to things that are in the public domain, things that, that we can use in a proper way and do justice. So I would say that's probably the biggest the biggest obstacle in coming up with a new exhibit. So
we've got a few questions coming through. First is, will there be a new store for Fancy Decor once the Vordun is moved?
I don't plan on changing my store itself. Landscaping's going to change a lot on the sim. I am toying around with the idea of putting a small little neighborhood where the old museum is. Maybe half a dozen houses or something where people who are interested, they can live there and live near some shopping and a walking distance to a museum and amenities like that. So that's something I'm thinking about for this. But the store itself, I don't think will be changing.
Okay. Next question was, I was wondering if this is your real life job, or is creating in Second Life still a hobby?
It started off as a hobby. I know when I made my first $100, it probably took a month. I was so excited. But now it is definitely my real life job. It is my main, my source of income. It's what I do every day. That being said, it is just it's fancy decor, Prism events, and the arcade. The Vordun does not does not make any money, so that, like I said earlier, is very much a passion project. But yeah, fancy decor is definitely my source
And
of income.
I think I'd want to add there, I know that you probably wouldn't, but I will. As you mentioned, the donation board will be at the Vordon and how your name will come up if you donate and that sort of thing. I think it's really important whenever you go somewhere that it's obvious doesn't have an income to it. Now, so I'm not talking about stores necessarily, but if you go to a sim that somebody's created and you use it to take photographs, or go to a museum or a gallery that somebody's taken the time to curate and you can afford to, it is worth remembering to donate. It's always appreciated by the person that's put the work in, and it helps to keep these kinds of things alive in Second Life that we all like to visit. So do visit, and you can donate, please. So I can assure you a lot of work has gone into it.
Yes, and with the Vordon being on its own sim now, the expenses have gone up quite a bit. It's something I don't mind because, you know, I do love it so much, but there are so many ways you can support the Vordon. The gift shop, I mean, when you buy something in the gift shop, it's as good as a donation. So just remember that. Obviously, donations in the kiosk where you can get your name up on the donor wall. And we also have a Patreon for anyone who really wants to support that way. So there's a few different ways. If you love it enough and you're able to, you can support it that way.
I think the Patreon's an excellent idea. So that's
and
really
anyone
good.
on Patreon gets a little special plaque on the wall in the lobby. So and you also get all kinds of other perks. There's a bunch of perks you get for being a patron on Patreon. So.
Okay, so the next question was, where do you reap your inspiration or ideas to create your designs from?
Oh, the usual places most people do. The internet, catalogs. Most of my designs are mid-century modern, leaning more on the modern side. But I have a love for mid-century design, so I tend to always look for stuff in that area and either put my own spin on it or go from there. So starting fancy decor, it's in the name, fancy. I have these visions of, you know, Baroque, Rococo.
It's in the name, fancy.
I had like these crazy visions of grandeur of making, like, you know, carved armchairs with gold gilt legs, and I quickly came to realize that's out of my skill set, and even to this day it still is. I won't say it won't ever happen, but that's something I've never been able to achieve. So fancy decor kind of took on a totally different style than I planned in the beginning. And even in the beginning it was very different. It was very kind of world traveler. Like, looked like things you could pick up from different places you've traveled, and since then it's really migrated towards...
I should have raised my rustic chair and we found those.
Yeah, it's really steadily been mid-century modern, leaning on the modern side lately. I do throw in some antique stuff every once in a while because I love that. I love antique stuff and those classic styles, so I throw those in.
For the store, I'll come back to Cerise's question in a moment. It's just one that I had. So for your store, what are some of the favourite items that you've made, or some of the favourite sets of yours that you've made?
Let's see. I think one of my favorite items I've made, actually no one has seen yet. I may have posted a picture of it on Facebook, but it's this clavichord, which is one of 4 or 5 instruments that I made custom for the Musica Exhibit that's coming to the Vordon. And
Oh, would there be a harpsichord too?
there is a harpsichord. Yeah, the harpsichord's in the exhibit. I made the harpsichord for the exhibit, but it's also something you can purchase from Fancy Decor. But the clavichord, I don't know if that'll be available until the exhibit. But I don't know. There was just something about this little clavichord that just it folds up into a little box and it just sits on your table, and there's something so simple and beautiful about it that I I really love it. And I think right now, of course, this changes on a month-by-month basis. That's my favorite item. And my favorite set, I made. Okay, my favorite set probably would be the Modine set, which I made with Emery. We collabed. I just think it's so
I love
funky.
that set.
It's so
Hmm.
colorful, and when you think of mid-century modern with like a funky retro twist, that's
Yeah.
totally it. So,
See, my favourite set of yours is a Gacha. It's still the Phantom set.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that one was fun.
And I still, and my dream catchers, love my, and the postage stamp one, with
Oh
the
my god, that
stamp
was my
boxes and the
very
postcards.
first arcade set.
Love that.
And it's so
Um,
different from anything I make now, too.
yeah, and I still use those boxes
Yeah.
and things. I don't think I have the full set because I just played the machine, and it was before I blogged for you. Have you ever considered taking your SL interior skills to?
Not as a career. I will say that, when I first started Fancy Decor, I didn't know much, if anything, about interior design or furniture design, anything like that. It's taken a lot of, research and just looking at stuff, looking at how things are made, and looking at how a good room is put together. And it never crossed my mind to do anything in real life. And I don't know if I'd want to or not. I really love the actual act of being at the computer and making it in mesh. There's something about that that I really like. And texturing, oh my gosh, don't get me started. I love it. I love texturing. It's one of my favorite things to do. Um, but as far as bringing Fancy Decor to real life, I recently had my first ever model that I made 3D printed. And I wouldn't even say it's Fancy Decor, but I did have a little piece 3D printed. It was so cool to actually hold something that I made on the computer. It was just kind of a surreal moment for me.
Do you think that's something you might do more of? Have you thought about the options for that as a
I'm
real life
not sure.
business?
I'm not sure. It was really a niche item I made. It was a little decoration for um, my harpsichord in real life. It needed a little ornamentation on it, on the legs, and so I designed it, had it printed, and painted it, and put it on, and it worked. And I was really happy to see something materialize out of a file on a computer.
I find that all fascinating, so that's really interesting. Hi, Foxy Resident says, do you design for other people land sims? I think that's probably going back to what you were saying about you enjoy doing the decorating for the Prism events.
Oh, no, I don't really. I hate to say this, but I don't really have a lot of time to do between the museum, all the events, and my store. I'm not able to do much work, custom work for people, and I've never really done any landscaping for anyone other than, my own sim for my store and the events. Also, no one's ever asked me, so thank you for being the first to ask. But no, I just think it's a matter of um, time, really. And then the same goes for, making custom furniture for people. I just have too many things on my plate to be able to add in anything. And I have a set amount of events that I do every month, so I'm at a place where I'm not overworking myself. I'm not spreading myself too thin. Trying to keep the Vordun going and Fancy Decor and all the events. So I want to keep it that way. So I'm not able to do any custom things for people. So I'm sorry.
However, giving a plug to tomorrow's talk. I'm back here at 12 o'clock tomorrow with one of the landscapers and sim designers from a group called Dirty Pretty, who design and create sims Second Life. So if you ask that question tomorrow, the answer will be yes.
And their sims are beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Yes. And so we're going to be talking about how they come up with their ideas and how they put the sims together, and cost, how much people, why you should hire a landscaper and involved in that sort of thing. So that's tomorrow at 12. So I thought I'd get that plug in as that question worked perfectly for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we have any more questions from the audience? I'm just down the local chat. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you wanted to talk about, Jake?
I don't think so. I just really hope to see everyone at the opening of the museum. It's something that, like I said, it's been in the works for over a year now. Slowly getting everything ready, and oh my gosh, if I could I can't even tell you how much work has gone into it between myself, Emery, Heidi, everyone who's been a part of it, and we're just so excited to show it to you guys. It's something that I think it showcases all the best things about SL, and I think that's really cool. So
I am very much looking forward to the opening, and always looking forward to more of what you do with Fancy Decor as well, because that's interesting, different. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to what you do, and with the events and arcade as well. So obviously you're a very busy person, which I love being busy in Second Life and having lots of different projects and things going on. So I completely understand why other people want to as well. That was the end. I think we're actually going to finish dead on time, unless we do have any more questions. So there will be a sim restart before the Meet the Lindens chat with Safia, Strawberry Linden, and Ziola Linden at 2 p.m. So I just want to say, Jake, thank you very much for agreeing to do this and for being so candid and announcing your 4 new exhibits, which are very exciting. And I look forward to seeing you. And his voice lasted, yeah.
It did, and thank you so much for having me on here.
It's been my pleasure. It's always lovely to chat with you. And obviously we do that not as often as we would like to, and rarely with an audience.
Right.
But thank you again, and thank you everyone for coming. And
thank you.
Hopefully see some of you tomorrow for the talk with Dirty Pretty as well. Oh, I hope that wasn't too painful.
No.
I'm really looking forward to opening. Can't believe it's really only 2 weeks away now.
I know. There's still so much that has to be done, but it'll get done.
Thank you, Cerise. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you so much.